Hello everyone and welcome to this video in which you're gonna watch the second part of the interview with a long-time race driver, James Auld. So in the first part of this interview we ran through the main steps in James's career, from karting to Formula, Nurburgring 24-hour races and his experience in the US with Auld trucks and dragsters. In this video though, we're gonna go more in depth into some of James's thoughts on motorsports during his whole career. So I strongly recommend that you keep watching this. Enjoy!
I think the motorsport coverage was not covered properly back in the day, and could championship organisers done more to help me? Well, it's a bit of a retrospective on that one, I suppose, because by modern motorsport and all sports saturation of media, it was quite something to even have a photo from an event. When I started competing, and certainly in the 90s, 2000, only with the advent of smartphones, and definitely not video. Any sort of moving stuff would have probably involved a TV camera. It wouldn't have been normal for anyone to be trotting about with anything that could record pictures really at all. Camcorders, I guess, in the 90s, but there weren't that many of them around. Could they have done more? It's again going back to this retrospective thing. Because of the mass coverage today, anyone who's doing anything, can put something online. Of course, there was no internet back in the day, and you just didn't really think of it. If you think back to say like the 1930s, almost no moving picture coverage, or even much press coverage. 50s and so on, and even then it would only be the top events, not smaller ones. I've always got quite good press coverage. I think you make it for yourself. Send out press releases, give them something interesting. Say even if you not win the race, as long as you've got a story, that's been the key thing, giving everyone a story. Work by that rule, and it's been fine. When I was in the States, I got a lot of coverage unrequested, if you like. The championship was obviously promoting itself. We always had a lot of fans there, and very often I spent a lot of time in the Atlanta Journal, which is the city I was living in, Atlanta. So they featured me quite a bit. So, in fairness, it would have been nice to have had more, and maybe that would have propelled, but unless you get the job done on the track, I know it's not necessarily the modern way. People like to see a bit of variety, and people like to see all kinds of things, but back in the day, it was, if you weren't winning, then, quite frankly, did you have a place? That was the question. The book Summer of Speed, well, that was written at the end of 2005. I had a very good season in 2005 in the States on the ovals. Came second in the championship I was driving in. The Summer of Speed was getting done during the year. It was my second year. I'd done pretty well the first season. Obviously, by that point with the series, I'm in the Legends Series, racing sometimes at NASCAR events and also at regional ones as well. And the championship I was in, as the season was going on, it was looking better and better for me in the points. And I was looking to progress the following year anyway. It's Legends in the States, it's not like career path to NASCAR Cup Series. The championship I was in, it was going to be a good thing, because there's a lot of local interest, a lot of basic ground level support for the championship. When Legends is headlining the event, there'll be like 5,000 people in the stands, and to be honest with you, outside touring car in the UK, you're probably going to be pushing to get that on the mainstream circuits and any series. But as I said, there were quite a lot of people, and so the book was really written aimed at those people, and it was really to help fund the following season when I was going to make a move up into the trucks, and that's exactly how it worked out. Really, it's not really an autobiography. It's just it's a little bit of an intro about how I come to be there, my background in racing, but also it's mostly about each individual event that made up that year when I came second in the championship, and of course it was quite an exciting decider. So it's worth reading right to the final page. One of the things with being in motorsport for so long, I started in 1987, has definitely been the safety. Things move on as normal. What seems absurd now didn't seem absurd before, because generally it was an improvement on what had been even before that. I remember, some really crazy things. In fact, modern drivers, it doesn't normally happen. Most guys I know don't ever compete at races where someone actually gets killed. I have done that. I remember the first time was at Alton Park. Fella lost control coming off Druid's corner and hit the barrier on the inside. Car disintegrated, and unfortunately he lost his life. And I remember qualifying at Nurburgring the first time I was there. I was literally about to drive out the pits to qualify on the world's most dangerous track, and one of the factory Alfa Romeos was in a big crash. The driver Christian Peruzzi was unfortunately killed. But one that struck a little bit more closer to home was a friend of mine, Neil Clayton. He was a stock car driver, and this occurred in 2015, the Easter weekend. He was driving in mod stocks and was in an accident at Birmingham Wheels. I remember messaging that night saying, Neil, there had been a big crash, and he was telling me he was fine. But his condition worsened, and unfortunately he died from his injuries, and that was really, really sad. But what happened from that was the guy who used to prepare his car and everything, and he was saying, look, let's get you out in Neil's car, so the car was repaired and everything else, and I remember it was with great pride that later on, a year after, I was in Neil's car at Birmingham, the circuit where he'd unfortunately been killed, and managed to drive through to third place. So that was a real honour to be able to do that. But as I say, most drivers these days, they've not been in event with us and they've actually lost their life. So, but safety has been a very big improvement over the years. I think even just from injuries point of view, people are walking away from some big crashes. The crashes are bigger now, I think, because people can get away with it. But certainly people do walk away from stuff that I think, you've had no chance years ago. So as I say, reinvent myself, and as opportunities arose, and that's the big thing I think of staying in the game. Just kind of jump in with the opportunities. Yeah, you're doing what you're doing at the time. Yes, you're trying to win, you're trying to get success, but the key thing is to be always ready to move to something else should the opportunity come up, and should you really feel like you ought to be doing that at the time. If things are stagnating a little bit in a certain thing that you're doing, then obviously you'd be wise to move on to something else, especially when an opportunity jumps out at you. These days I'm racing the dragster, obviously with the karts. I've done a lot with karting and over the years, and I'm still actually competing in that because I'm racing these days in the Butmore 24 hours, Benedict Racing, and we did all right last year. The race has been delayed this year till later on, so we'll see how we do. It'll be fine. 24-hour race at Butmore Park is always a good one, and riding the motorcycle trials and also the dragster is definitely keeping me pretty sharp and fit into later years. And obviously I would always have a favourite British rental car championship race, and I've saved this one till the end. Yes, I commentate on it, and a lot of people would think I go for one of the amazing races. The standard is so high at the moment in BRKC. However, I used to actually compete in it before commentating, and I was competing in it when it was a multi-venue formula. And in the early years, Brad and I have been looking for a regional championship or even a rental car championship to drive in. We have been racing at Matcham's in their rental car championship. He and I have raced loads of stuff at Matcham's, rental karts, Formula 2 KM, all sorts. And one that really springs to mind was a BRKC championship heat race. And I was leading the way, and I'd led a long way, but Brad was coming on strong in the race, and I remember it was the last lap, and we were at Matcham's and coming around this left-hand kink, and then into this hairpin, and it was. I remember being aware of this cart coming up behind me, and of course it was Brad, and all I saw was, from my perspective, was this cart coming past me down the inside, but backwards. And what had happened was Brad had locked up the brakes coming into the turn, trying to pass me. It's half spun, and he just shot through into the lead going backwards. Sort of fired off into the boonies on the outside, and I was able to cut back across, complete the last couple of laps, and actually win a BRKC heat race. So I was very pleased with that. And after all the history and stuff, and how the BRKC came about, and my history with Brad, if I was going to win a single BRKC heat race, even in the modern formula, love Formula Fast, but it would be fitting to be against Brad, outmatch him, and that's how it turned out in this case. Well, that's one you might have to ask to Ruben Boutens as well. It's he's got quite a few good years ahead of him. It depends how he feels about it all. Obviously he lost the championship earlier this year, but I'm sure he's going to be coming back strong to add to all those titles he back-to-back up to it. Obviously, you can never rule Ruben out, so I think it would be really a question for him, and also a question for Brad Philpott and Darren Cook, because obviously, if I get fired from position of commentator, then obviously I think Ruben will win that particular one. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get the sack and Ruben will be the winner. Maybe Ruben will get bored. Certainly, he would get bored of it before I did. But I don't know. Ask Darren or Brad if I'm on for the job.